Welcome to the Legacy Through Land podcast, where we're dedicated to empowering you on your journey to land ownership and management. I'm Tyler Markham, your host, and each week we'll dive deep into the world of land investing, management strategies, and the transformative experiences tied to owning your very own piece of dream dirt. With our expert guests, inspiring stories, and actionable advice, we're committed to helping you become a better land manager, hone your investing skills, and start building your family's legacy through land. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. We hope you'll enjoy. Welcome back to the Legacy Through Land podcast. This guest I'm really excited about, and you hear me say that every time, but it's always for different reasons. And today we've got my good friend Brad Young from out in Arizona. Brad and I met through real estate mastermind events back in 2015. I actually think we met. And we were both house flippers at the time. They were doing a little bit of like spec home building and some other things, but Brad transitioned into land much quicker than I did. His success with land was much quicker than mine was. And really, when you get to know him and when you listen to this episode, you're going to learn that he's a very calculated individual. He's very disciplined. He's very organized. He is very focused. And that's something that I aspire to be in a lot of aspects. And this isn't just in his business walk. It's in his spiritual walk. It's in his family walk, all of those aspects. I look up to Brad a ton, and I want you guys to get to see through the lens of a guy who has been very successful and quietly very successful in land and all things land, going vertical, development, grading, site prep, you name it. He's done a little bit of a lot. And this one's going to be good. So we're going to jump right into Mr. Brad Young. I cannot believe we finally got this episode set up and scheduled, and it is actually happening. Meet one of the hardest guys to nail down in the world, but one of my favorite people in the world, Brad Young. Thanks for being on, man.
You got it. Yeah. I don't feel like I'm that hard to nail down, but I'm very sorry if I've been that way.
He just runs at a high clip, and I really, really do love it. He is not hard to nail down. He is hard to keep up with. That's probably the better way to say it. Brad runs at a really, really high pace, more with efficiency than chaos like me. And he is definitely somebody I look up to more than anybody I know in business. And he's got a lot going right in his life. So obviously I've already said all this in the intro, but for real, man, I appreciate you being on here.
Of course. I'm happy to do it.
He somehow thought that there wouldn't be much for us to talk about. And I have kind of learned with some of the most successful people I know that that's a common answer they give, is they don't think they're that interesting. So I'll let you guys, listeners and watchers, be the judge at the end if you think Brad has some value to add to the land space, because I can tell you without question, he's one of my first calls on just about anything that comes up that is bigger than anything I've ever done. He's my guy. So we go way back, and I'll kind of talk about that maybe throughout our conversation here, but it's been awesome getting to watch your career. It's been awesome to consider your friend. It's been fulfilling to be able to get kind of a first look into what is it like to grow a business. So I want to go back in time. And before we started recording, I was asking Brad kind of some questions that I actually don't know the answer to as well. We've been friends, just to kind of set the tone here. We've been friends 15 years. It's been a while.
Long time.
It's been a while. So it's probably 2010 is what I would have to say we met. But anyways, met down in I think it was Pensacola, Florida, at a real estate event.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And it's been fun to watch his career, but I don't know some of these answers of kind of way back, Brad. So Brad, if I can finally shut up, can you tell people, elevator pitch, who's Brad Young today? And then I'll dig out kind of the younger Brad, but what's your elevator pitch on who Brad is today?
That's a great question. I'm not very good at elevator pitches. So, it's funny. I get harassed. This question I get harassed about all the time. My wife's always like, how can you always tell people that you do grading? Or how can we just tell people that, oh, I'm in real estate? Or why don't you ever Ty, I'm like, I don't want to have that conversation. I don't, because 99.9% of my life revolves around that conversation. So like I'd rather talk about people. Tell me about your kids, tell me about your anything else. But yeah, man, we run a real estate development company, and
where's home for you?
Home for me is Phoenix, Arizona, Gilbert, Arizona. Yeah.
It's hot. Give us an idea here in Ohio today. We are recording on January 15th. It is 15 degrees. What is it there?
Yeah, probably like 60.
And side note, everybody, Brad's not a hunter. I'm convinced it's going to happen in 26 or 27. We're gonna get him to kill something, but he doesn't have a lot of hobbies. That's why he's so successful in everything else he does. There's hobbies that I have that really just cloud my brain of success. He doesn't seem to have any, so I'm going to try to force one on him if I can. So home is Gilbert, Arizona. I mean, here we go. I've got to drag this out of Brad. What, if you could kind of lay this out here, what do you guys have your hands in today when we think of dirt? And I also know that you go vertical and you've kind of done a little bit of a lot. What do you have your hands in today from business perspectives, and what keeps you busy?
Yeah. I mean, right now we're like on the service opportunity side, we're in steel, like fencing, gates, decorative iron, structural steel, stuff like that. And then you do a lot of civil contracting, primarily commercial civil contracting, so grading, paving, would love to figure out how to get concrete included in that. On the real estate side, we're trying to develop a couple communities right now, and yeah.
Brokerage? You still a broker?
Yeah. We're actually just putting a little bit of gas into agents and trying to shape that into something like what I've really wanted it to look like over the years. Just never really was able to get it there, and I think we're finally at a spot where we can make that level of push that we're hoping to make.
So everything in your empire, for people that don't know Brad, everything that I've watched and everything I've seen starts from this, this tower called BC Team. Is that correct now?
Yeah.
Why BC Team? What's it stand for and what's it mean to you?
Yeah. 2010, trying to figure out how to start a brokerage and what that should look like. And Better Choice Homes was what BC stand for, is Better Choice. And that kind of evolved over the years as we opened new, bolt-on elements of the business. So there's the civil contracting side is BC Development. Our investment side is BC Invest, and so just kind of kept that name because it was simple. And to be quite frank, I just didn't want to have to rethink it. I don't want to make decisions on things like that.
So how many BCs are there now? There's BC Team.
Yeah, really, that's just like for marketing, it's more of like a DBA, there's just Better Choice Homes, the real estate firm, an investment holding type side of it, and the development side of it. Just
got you.
Yeah.
He had one of the best logos, still does. When I went out and watched Brad's operation one time, spent, a day or two there, and we had a real estate mastermind event in Phoenix. And so we went and kind of toured some of his chaos. And I've always just loved watching how he positions himself marketing wise and how he positions himself in his community. But I've always loved your logo. I've always loved the BC. When did that come to what? I mean, did it evolve, or is that what it's been since day one? No,
it evolved. Like in the beginning, it was more like a set of blueprint style looking plan with a roof line kind of overarching, Better Choice Homes. And my younger brother Nick is the one that designed the new one. We're like, cool, we like it, let's go.
So it wasn't one of the top priorities on your list as you're growing?
Honestly, I'm like a big believer in simplifying life. And so the more you simplify, the more you can execute. And so it was like, oh, this makes it simple. So letterhead is simple. Cards are simple. Shirts are simple. Everything's simple.
He was the first symbol, everybody. So if you go on ChatGPT and try to get yourself a cool, simple logo now, Brad was the first cool symbol before ChatGPT. They probably take his logo as a template,
Oh,
So
for sure.
it's flowy. If we were sexy enough in our editing, we'd put it up. But it's real good. If I had my white BC team hat somewhere behind me, it was back there forever as a non-paid sponsor of all my video that we put out. I would show it to you, but I want to back way up because I can already tell with Brad, he thinks, and this has been our entire friendship, he doesn't really think he does much or has much going on or is involved in much or has any value to add. So I will just happily drag it out of him. Start back to young Brad. These are the stories that I always love to hear. And we could even start back to, you live in Arizona now, and I happen to know that at a certain point in Brad's life, you guys, your family was in Texas, or maybe some still are in Texas, but there was this move. Can we start however early you want?
Sure. Yeah. First 20 years of my life basically were in Texas. And my dad was a general contractor, developer. He developed for public storage for as long as I can remember.
I didn't even know that part. That's awesome. So you kind of were around construction forever.
Forever. As I grew up working every summer from a really early age. Was you go out and you work with your dad. So you get up really early, make a lunch, and you go. And so it was pretty early in life, earlier than I will for sure do with my children because they're already a lot of them are beyond that age. But great experience and for sure great exposure. So yeah, that's what early life started there. And I don't know when, at one point I wanted to be a dentist, so I don't know I think it was, I grew up going into manholes and digging ditches and everything was extremely physical. We grew up in a much more rural environment. So you're pulling fences, fixing fences, trees get pushed over by tornadoes and storms. So you're gathering them up and putting them in piles, lighting them on fire, your typical redneck fun stuff.
I didn't know they did redneck stuff in Arizona. That's all. Or is this Texas still?
Texas, yeah. First 20 years of my life, that was life.
Okay, so if we were to put this age-wise, you're saying at the college run was kind of when Arizona started.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Texas, young. Do you even remember before? Probably you. If you're like me, I didn't know what the word entrepreneur meant. I didn't know what self-employed meant. I didn't know any of these things as a kid.
No.
Do you remember some of the first things you ever did that were your first ventures?
Yeah. So I remember one time I was frustrated that I was always so hot. Because, and you go to work and you're getting paid 25, 50 cents an hour type of thing, because that's what dads do to you. And it's when you're 7 or 8, you're collecting nails. When you're 10, 11, and 12, you're digging. And when you get a little older, you're laying track and stud, because that's kind of how self-storage goes. And then, that's kind of what you're doing. But I just remember always being hot. So I was like, I'm going to figure out how to not be hot. So I took my lunchbox and I'll never forget this because my dad really laid into me for this, but I can recall, I took a hole saw bit and I cut a hole in this thing. I was probably 11, I
already like where this is going.
And I took some silicone or some sort of glue. I don't remember why, I don't know what it was. And I took a fan, and I apologize. I've got something in my throat and I don't know what's going on here, but
we can take a break if you get choked up over this.
No, seriously, I'm sobbing right now. And I glued that thing in, and I dumped ice inside there, and I'm like, I got this little 9-volt battery fan, and I turn it on. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I can turn this thing on and get cold air on my face, and dude,
and this is a thing now. This is a thing now.
I said, Dad, check this out. I just built a portable air conditioner, and he lit me up because that was my lunchbox, or his lunchbox, because he paid for it, So, which is funny because 15, 20 years later, I'm like, wait, what? This is everywhere.
Literally, dude, this thing, I'm pretty sure the biggest one is called Mr. Cool.
Yes. And I'm like, randomly when I get stupid ads for it, I send it to Dad. I'm like, hey, dude, do you remember this? And he's like, ugh, because he's a very different human now than he was then, that's for sure. But so that was probably where I thought I was going first, which got, shut down real quick. But then it was landscaping. I started a landscaping route with a buddy of mine, and knew that I wanted to go, I wanted to be able to make money, but I wanted to be able to do it on my own time because I love sports. You can't grow up in Texas and not play football.
I was going to ask you, what part of Texas did you grow up in?
Midlothian, Texas. So South Dallas. It's
south of where?
Dallas.
Oh yeah, I was in Dallas for I was in Dallas just a couple weeks ago. I went to the Cotton Bowl. We stayed in South Lake, I want to say. Is that right?
South Lake's real nice. So
yeah.
Midlothian's a lot bigger now, but it was real small gravel roads when we first got there. So great place. Had an awesome childhood in terms of where I grew up. I really love rural environments, but landscape route. And I can recall, I don't want to take too much time on this question.
No, we're going to take time. You just go, buddy. Nobody ever gives Brad Young a chance to talk.
There was a guy, his name was Jeff Turner. I'd been cutting his yard for like 3 years. At this point, I'm 15 years old. I had started cutting his yard real early, and Jeff Turner worked for GM, and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna build a new home," and it was a modest home in today's world. And but it's kind of on a little bit of a hill, and he was like, I got paid for this patent that he put in for, how when you if you don't put your seatbelt in, it detects your body weight and it chimes.
Yeah, that was him.
It's seriously frustrating now as an adult.
Right.
Why did you?
Thanks
do
a
that?
lot, man.
Terrible. But so he's like, you think you could install the landscaping at my home, not just like go maintain something, but do a full landscape install? And I'm like, sure, yeah, let's do it. Because that's kind of like my attitude about a lot of things in life, which...
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, you, at this point, have no concept of doing this, right? You just said yes.
Oh, yeah, yes. It's always yes. Like, figure it out.
I'll figure it out as we go. 100%.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with that style of life. But so he's like, yeah, come on over. So I can't drive yet. And so my buddy...
I was going to ask, is this like what age? I'm
about 15.
Okay.
And so my buddy of mine, his name is Bo. B&B Landscaping was our and I found an old business card just a couple of years ago, which was great. I'm like, oh, that's like that's a relic almost. So anyway, we go over there and I'm like, oh crap, this house is like on this hill, and I'm like, so what do you want for landscaping? He's like, I want some railroad tied terraced style steps up this hill, and he's on acreage. It's not like this little postage.
Not like a small pad.
No, it's like he's on several acres. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. I've been just running bobcats forever already, and I'm like, well, I guess we'll figure this out. So I go to my dad. I'm like, Dad, how do I do this? So he's teaching me about dead man posts, and he's teaching me about how to use spikes and how to overcut and then rebuild back with compaction, blah, blah, blah. So, and then we get in an F550, load this thing up with a big skid steer. He drops it off and says, good luck. And I'm like,
I love it.
So I'm like, he helped, kudos to him. Like he was willing to see me go figure it out.
Yeah. And let you fail.
Yeah. So I get in a skid steer and I start cutting the side of this guy's hill away. And I'm thinking, at the time I'm like, I don't comprehend that I'm impacting like the foundational side of this guy's property, But it turned out awesome. I'll cut it a lot shorter. Turned out awesome.
Oh man, I was hoping you were going to say, you cut into a gas line or something.
No, we made $10,000 in 3 weeks. We worked around the clock and put all of it in, planted sod, sprinklers, fencing, all the things. We worked around the clock for about 3 weeks. We made like $10,000. We split it, or it was something like that. And
but at that time, it's like a pile of money.
So it was a pile of money. Yeah, I went out and I bought a street bike. My parents were like, the only way. They're like, the only way. I was like, guys, I really want to, because I've been running dirt bikes for forever, and I was like, yeah, I would love to get a street bike. And they're like, you have to pay for it if you're going to get it. We don't want you on this.
This is another thing I didn't know about you, bro. I got a broken collarbone to prove my dirt bike isms.
Oh yeah. So I love it. I mean, I enjoy it. I like anything outdoors for sure. But so that was probably my first venture into like true entrepreneurism. Like, oh yeah.
And what did you guys do with that from there? I mean, where did you do that a while, or what did that look like?
We just continued doing smaller installs. Most people weren't looking for what we did there, but installs, and continued the landscape side of it. And I was still always doing work for my dad when needed it, or like we always threw a few trailers of hay in the summer, because animals need feed over the winter, stuff like that.
Did you ever at any point during that landscape gig, did you ever come clean to Jeff? Like, hey, we didn't actually know what we were doing here. We just figured it out.
Oh, no way.
All right, Jeff, if you somehow get on this, the statute has run. We think this.
So, yeah, I drove there about 10 years ago. I was like, I'm going to go drive by this, but still there. It's a different fence now. I'm sure that thing was rotted out. You know what I mean? But like,
yep, that's amazing. I mean, and if we've done those railroad tie embankment walls as well. And I mean, I've just got to think back. I'll never forget my stepdad and I doing one of those when I was a kid. And if they're the same like yours, they're treated with creosote.
Yes.
And I got creosote burn on my face. Like oh man, it's for real.
Yeah.
For real. Yeah.
Yes. I had a job in shorts and definitely never went back in shorts because I was like, I didn't know. I was like, what am I doing? And I'm in shorts. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is getting all over me.
Yeah. And when you're nice and hot and sweating, it's like worse than metal weed or poison ivy or any of that.
For sure. You're ripping it up with a chainsaw, realizing everything's spewing all over your legs. And you're like, this is stupid.
Yeah. Hey, but we made some money, right?
Made money.
At that point, when you're 15, Brad, because I know the answer for me is I had no clue, but did you ever think like I'm going to work for myself? Like, when do you think that happened in your brain?
That's a really good question. That probably happened at like 22.
Okay.
23, somewhere in there.
I was talking about doing about that same time frame. I did. They called it co-op as a high school student. You could do it, an internship at a business locally.
Yeah.
And I had to punch a time clock at this co-op. I worked on oil and gas rig trucks, welding the trucks, like welding truck bodies. You could go to that company and buy a truck and they would outfit it. And I welded. And for 2 months, it was pretty cool. Like, whatever. Nobody's bugging me. I'm just welding. It's cool.
Yeah.
And then I would have to physically punch that time clock. Like I would hear the thing go, then I would put my card up on the thing. And I mean, 2 months in, I was like, this is not for me. Like, you guys have to be here every day at the same time. And you can't leave until the same time. And we just sit here and talk about our lives at lunch for 15 minutes. I can't, I'm out on this. This is prison to me. I don't know why you guys. So I kind of knew I don't know what entrepreneurism is, but definitely not going to work for someone else if I have to do that. I mean, maybe that was God's way of, good classical conditioning for me. I'm sure it's not like that for everybody, but at that welding shop, I quickly knew about 18 or 19, I'm not going to work for someone else. That's crazy. But so landscape, we're still in Texas. Yeah. I just know because I took some notes, but what took your family or took you, or how did this exodus to Arizona? How did and you don't remember this probably. The first time I ever heard that Brad lived in Texas first and then Arizona, we were out in the waves at we were out at a beach. I forget where we were. I don't know.
In Florida?
Yeah, at that real estate event. I never knew that there was this whole Texas time of your life. I've just always known Arizona. Yeah. But when was the move? How did that go?
Yeah. I went and served a 2-year church mission from age 19 to 21. And, during that time was, left in 06 or sorry, left in end of 04 and came back in 06. And, my dad was in, land and development at that time, which I didn't have any involvement on the real estate side. Didn't understand it. Obviously I'm young and being a kid. And, he had gotten into some things that just weren't going to work out when banks started tightening up and things changed, it really wrecked them, so they went through a phase where they just lost everything. And so as I'm coming home from this mission trip, I'm like, I'm trying to be prayerful about what should I go do? Give me some guidance. At this point, I'm probably the most connected to God that I've ever been, and I'm like,
Amen.
I would love some direction. There was
this
two things.
Would have been 07. Would have.
Yeah. So this is like
okay.
This is I would say like August, September, October of 06 is when I'm about to head home. And so I started praying about a lot of things. I had been writing letters to a girl at the time that I was like, I didn't know if I would be attracted to physically, but I knew that who she was at her core was the human that I would love to build a family with. So I knew I needed to be prayerful about that. And I wanted to seek out God's, help and direction with that. Is this the person I should go pursue? Because I'm not real interested in running around. I want to get to the point.
I don't really want to go through the rings here. I just want to land at the first one.
You show me the door. If you point to the door, I'm going to go run through it. I don't need to go test all the other doors.
That's awesome.
I knew that, which turned out to be my wife. We met at church.
I was going to say, spoiler alert.
18 years married now, and we met at church camp when we were 15. And but we lived 2 hours apart, so we never saw each other, dated. I didn't have cell phones or anything back then. That was like instant messenger days, right? So,
so was she who you were writing at this time?
huh?
And she just wouldn't check yes or no. I mean, and here you are held up in limbo.
No, I mean, we were writing about life. Like I just knew the depth of this human was freaking awesome. That's what I knew. I knew that like this is a genuine soul that I would love to like spend eternity with. And, so mission, kind of came to a close when I got home. My parents were like full scale losing everything. It was bad. So, we started digging holes in the back of the property to bury things because there was no money for dumpsters, to like get rid of stuff as they tried to liquidate life, sell cars, sell anything you could sell. Like, and it was not a lavish lifestyle. It was a nice home for sure for the area. We built the home. We built a home over top of an existing home as we grew through it because I have 7 siblings and my parents raised a couple of my cousins. So it was a busy home. Then I got back and I was like, at first I thought I wanted to be a dentist. I'm like, I got to go to school. I know I don't want to do this forever. So when I got home, I was patching concrete, asphalt, building decks, stuff like that. I knew I wasn't going to do that forever. And I went up to Utah. I went to UVU for about a semester. And I realized it just wasn't the environment for me. I'm going for it, I don't want to get like religious on this, or you tell me where you want.
No, let's get religious. I mean, we go there a lot.
I was in the Bible Belt. I went to a place where I was the only Latter-day Saint in my school at most times, other than a sibling or maybe one other person, to an area where it's all of the same faith. You know what I mean? Or it was predominantly. And it's hard when you start to be like, that's not what we believe. Why are you doing that? You know what I'm saying? And you're like, hey, why are you not walking this walk that you're preaching? And I saw that a lot. And I hate to be this like critical Clancy over here, but it's like, I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. So,
weird tie here, Brad, but I haven't heard UVU, never knew. I'm guessing this is a small school. Am I right? That's where Charlie was murdered.
Yes. And it's not real small. It's a pretty
okay.
big.
This is just my unknowingness. Yeah. I just never heard of that until then.
Yeah, and it used to have a different name, but now it's UVU, and it's probably a good enough school, right? I don't like. There's nothing. I'm just kind of anti-higher education, so.
He said it, folks. We're 25 minutes in. Oh no, my first Josh Duncan was like, I said college is a scam, I think, and he's a big time outdoors guy and actually developer as well. But I said later, I didn't mean to say that. Like I don't want to, because his kids were in college. He's like, oh no, it's a scam. Like it is for sure. Like okay, all right, just making sure everybody's good here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I should get into why I think it's a scam, but
I think we should. Once people know who Brad is, I think you're worth listening to. Why? Well, you'll cover this one pretty quick. Why do you think?
I mean, I'm not trying to sound like Charlie Kirk since you brought his name up, but like, DEI, I think is a mess. That's my belief. I think it's a mess. I'm sure there was good like potential and purpose that could have been there if it was executed properly. But when I enrolled in school at Tarrant County College in Arlington, Texas, before I moved out to Arizona, I was going through orientation, and I was the very clear minority, right? Which I'm used to. Like you're in the South, or you know what I mean. Like it's not like I didn't really know what minority was. If I'm being frank,
sure.
There was no like nobody cared about skin color back then.
Well, you didn't. Yeah, those words weren't even like a position.
It wasn't a position. I'm like, dude, I have so many buddies that are not the same skin color as me that I would have loved, that I hung out with all the time, and we did things all the time. It wasn't a thing. I didn't realize that was a thing until it became a political thing. Social media ruined that, I think, put a big divide in. But anyway, so I'm there. There's probably 20 of us. It's majority. I would say there's like 40-50% Latino. Probably 45% somewhere in that African American, and then there's me and one other kid that's got white skin. And we're in orientation. The lady says, "Hey, great news! Like you get to come to school for free. We have grants and we have all these things for all of you. This is going to be awesome. Like, You don't have to worry about that. And then because she's panning across the group, and then she stops at me. She says, well, not for you. And I'm like, and at the time I'm super confused. I'm like, wait, what's the difference? Like, I literally didn't understand, because you got to remember, this is 20 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was when I was like, oh, I hate higher education. Like, so basically, if I don't have the right skin color, I have to go into massive debt for this, which I'm not saying that's for everyone. That was just my experience. And
so racism only exists in not white color.
I don't know. I definitely don't want to get into the racism conversation, because
Well,
I don't believe in it. Like, we are all
right. And you didn't that day either until you saw that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I'm the same way. I never ever said that, but it sounds like you're making a pretty good example that it doesn't just go one way.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. That was the first time, like, I had seen it go one way or the other. Like, I'm sure that plenty of my friends that weren't the same race as me, right, like, had moments in their life where they felt discriminated against. I never was with them to see it, because all I ever saw was them being idolized for athleticism, or for just being cool, or being trendsetters, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the only side I ever saw. And I'm like, cool, I love this guy too. He's great.
Yeah. So that was, what did you say? The college there in Arlington first? And
Or
was that at UV?
Tarrant County College. I was in Arlington, yeah.
Okay. And then UVU.
Uh-huh.
And then UVU. Now that's Utah. So we're not quite to Arizona yet. We're still trekking along here.
Yeah. And then I did like a door-to-door sale gig for a couple summers, and moved to Colorado, then moved back to Texas to open an office for them.
You moved to Colorado for the door-to-door sale gig.
Yeah.
Whoa. What was it?
That was to sell home security systems. Yeah.
Dude.
Great experience. Like, if you can take rejection on the doorstep, which I had just taken rejection on the doorstep for 2 years as a missionary. You know, like,
he's like, look, I'm selling Jesus on this first call.
Look,
this is just home security. This is way easier.
Look, if you can get somebody who just threw a beer bottle at you to turn around and be like, oh, I'd love to hear more about Jesus Christ. Like, and you can sit there and you can take it on the chin. I can do anything on a doorstep.
Security systems, way easier.
Way easier than getting someone to believe that they actually have a savior. You know?
Oh, that's, man, I'm sorry. I mean, obviously we're believers here. That is classic though. He's like, dude, I'm converting people to Jesus, and you tell me all I got to do is sell a security system for the house? Oh, yeah, dude, so like, I'm way qualified.
Yeah, it wasn't
so you moved to Colorado for this. I'm guessing they're saying maybe there's some kind of a bigger opportunity, or like they had a position or like a region open, or what? Why?
I was just your typical sales rep. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of them. You know what I mean? I was just a sales rep, and then like had a decent run. It wasn't anything. I was no like wonder boy, and but I was like, hey, like, I'll open an office for you in Texas since you don't have one there, and recruited 30 guys and put a team together, and we sold, you know? So I was like, okay, we'll go sell about 1,000 accounts. And it was most of those 30, they fall off. Like, most people don't last in door-to-door sales. You find out who the ones are that can stomach rejection and can just go forward real quick in door-to-door sales.
Where in Colorado was that?
We moved around a lot. So it was like a territory,
okay.
But what's the name of the little town? Like, it was north of Denver, but I don't remember the name of the little.
Okay, it obviously wouldn't matter, but
Aurora, Colorado is where we lived.
Okay,
where you often saw people's cars get put up on blocks at night. You know, stuff.
Yeah. Nice.
So
not Crested Butte.
No.
Okay. I got a friend, Bobby Warner, that lives out in Crested Butte. Maybe he'll be listening to this. Yeah, not quite that, huh? So, Colorado. See, look, we've gone everywhere, man. We're doing that country song now. I've been everywhere, man. So Colorado, then where?
Then back to Texas, to Mansfield, Texas, and to build a little office and team, and then at the end of that year, like I had a pretty good run with that. I'm like, dude, when you're like in your early 20s and you can make $100,000, it's like, that's fantastic, you know? And so then I came out to Arizona in 2008 and very end of 2008.
So I want to back you up a second, because there's a huge part of all of our journeys as entrepreneurs and men and women of faith and all these things, there's a part where you get yoked with your person, and you had been writing letters back and forth to your person. I do have a quick question, not to put her on the spot. I've met his wife and she's fantastic. Were either of you doing like the cool foldings when you were sending the letters back, or just kind of basic folding? Because that's a big part of, you know, my attraction to Molly was, you know, the foldings were
That's a good question. I guess I can't remember. I still have every letter, so I have it all in a block. And
he's gonna laminate them.
You know, it's just one of those things that I'm like, holy crap.
Molly still has the first rose I ever gave her. She dried it in a book, and it's still in a thing.
Yeah, I'm a little bit.
I'm not sure it was a rose, but it was something. It was whatever.
He seemed like a carnation kind of guy.
Whatever would have been at the gas station, probably. You know, like I mean, there was bags of mulch, gas, and then, you know, like a rose or something, you know, whatever. So you don't know if she folded them cool. You don't know if that was like a factor.
I don't remember.
That wasn't criteria.
All going through the mail, you know.
You're right. I mean, it had to be postmarked. So
postmarked. You're waiting a week to get it, you know, or whatever it was.
Seriously, like we're joking here, but Brad, you know what's crazy, and hopefully you agree. Like, these are the things that I tell my kids. I wish they could experience. They will never experience any of this because you had to wait. There was this unknowingness. There was this thing that was true courting. True. Like, now everything's just immediate and we have access to everything. And like, you waited. You guys had this waiting period to nurture your back and forth, and it's beautiful. You know, I mean,
we're big believers in delayed gratification. So like a lot of the things we do in rearing children, kind of pushes that same narrative, I guess. You know, so.
Yep. So I backed you up because at what point in this journey are you married?
We got married. So we got engaged, and she followed me to Colorado. We had different places to live. She ended up staying with like the manager of the office. They had another room. Him and his wife, you know, had another like room in their apartment. So she stayed there for the 30 days we were waiting, or whatever it was, until we were going to get married at, you know, 60 days, whatever it was. And she flew to Texas or drove, I don't remember, you know, to prepare for a wedding. And, you know, at this time, both of our families are extremely broke. So life was real simple in that regard. There was nothing extravagant about what we were about to do. And then 24 hours before getting married, I flew to Texas, and I flew down, showed up, got married, went back to work, you know,
back in Colorado.
Yep. Yeah,
man, this is amazing. I mean, we could do another podcast on this, but I'm going to assume, Brad, is there part of the traditions or part of tradition, even in your spiritual upbringing, that there's parts of your ceremonies or parts of this process that were serious that you guys needed to incorporate into a wedding? Because I mean, you said obviously both families were super broke, and you had to do what you did, but flying back, was it a small wedding, big wedding?
Very small.
Yeah.
Very small, simple, like, and you know what? A lot of family members pitched in to, you know, it's Texas, so to get some barbecue in a bucket and stick it on a table at the house. That's where that's where people are coming to congratulate you. There's no big auditorium that's been rented out with ice sculptures and you know what I mean? That wasn't life, which quite frankly I didn't.
We literally roasted a pig underground at my reception. My dad buried a pig in a thing and roasted it. And people talk about our wedding to this day of how fun it was. It was low key. And I see people doing all these crazy weddings, and I always tell them, like, I hate to be this guy, but work on having, like, pay for a great marriage. Just have a wedding.
Yeah.
It's fine. You're going to be just as married after the cheap one as you are the expensive one.
For sure. Yeah. Expectations might be different if you do the other way. Yeah.
And obviously, you know, certain people might be like, okay, this is a land podcast. Yeah. Okay. But we have to set the scene and set the standard for what I know about Brad is he is very, very disciplined. Very. And these are parts of that road and that journey. I mean, look at the discipline you guys are saying that you had. I want to speak to the second before we move from it. You're saying that she followed you to Colorado in your young courting. Maybe you're engaged during the run to Colorado. Okay.
Yep.
You're engaged. It would have been way easier to just stay somewhere in the same place. Would have been way easier to just get an apartment or whatever, or just be together. And tons of people wouldn't have faulted you for that because logistically that would have been simpler. And you guys had the discipline to not do that.
Yeah. I mean, like at this point, you know, you're super like connected to this person and you're attracted to this person, especially when you're in your early 20s and so wanted to save ourselves for each other, right? Like, so if I moved in with her, there was no way I was going to wait until God had ratified my marriage and I could do that knowing that this was backed by the Lord, you know? And so I waited. That was the only reason for doing that.
I get it. But again, I mean, so many people wouldn't have made that decision. These are the types of things that craft discipline. Yeah. And obviously it's spiritual, but it's easier to take, you know, you could have taken an easier road there. So kind of tracking forward here, Colorado, then back to Texas for a bit, you said. Now, the wedding was back to Texas, but I sidetracked you. You went back to Texas after Colorado and did what again? You were doing a sales gig of some sort? Or
So from Colorado, it's the same company. They hey, will you recruit an office? I said, sure. And will you open it in Texas? I said, sure. So went down there, opened an office, and we ran a little team there for that summer.
And was that close where you lived originally?
Yeah, it was probably 15. We lived, it's probably like 20, 25 minutes away.
But it wasn't like you were moving 4 hours from where you lived.
No.
When you came back.
Yeah.
And then do we get to Arizona?
Yeah. So, end of 2008, got a call from my brother-in-law and he's like, hey, will you come out and help me do real estate? And I was like, sure. So I had two sisters living here. They married guys from Arizona. And so earlier in life, a random summer, I came out and cleaned semi trucks for my uncle's business. And I was like, I kind of like this place, super clean. Like, I'll tell you the difference, like I miss the sticks for sure. I really miss having wide open space. And like my kids will never get to experience building tree houses that connect by a rope bridge. You know what I'm saying? Like they're never going to get that piece of life that I loved, but they'll get different pieces. And that's okay too, right? So, came out here into 2008. I bought my first home, and then the stock market crashed about a week later. Almost exactly 1 week after that was when the big crash went. And it was a good time.
Well, let's dive into it. I mean, like you just said, you made a statement that just sounds so simple. You're in Texas running a successful second branch or second operation from the security systems, building another team closer to family, closer to home. A brother-in-law says, hey, you want to move to Arizona and help me with real estate? And you just said, yeah, sure. Like, sounds simple. What was that really like? How old were you at that point? Because I only know Brad as this serial entrepreneur, but who is deeply entrenched in real estate success. Everything to do with a brick and mortar, somewhat pun intended, is Brad Young and his success and his trajectory. You're saying you also slid in there. You had power washed trucks, you said, during a...
That's just like some random summer when I was probably 17. So I had like been here, I'd gone hike Camelback and experienced some things where I'm like, oh, this is like, there's some cool stuff out here. So,
okay. So when he says you want to do it, was it really that simple?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So the words were like, hey, I'll match what you're making. And I was like, cool. I'm making pretty good money at this age of,
Yep.
I can buy a vehicle and pay it off, and I can do things that were, and I had built some residual income because for every account we sold, I was getting $2 a month for the life of the account. So we were getting actually a pretty solid check every month because it was for the whole team.
Nice.
That's what paid off our first two vehicles we ever bought, and
that's
so
awesome. Do you still get it today?
No, that's been a long time.
I was going to say, man, that would be super cool.
But we probably did for like 7 years, after leaving there. We were getting a check for kudos to North Star Alarm. Like they had integrity where I think
shout out North Star Alarm. Yeah. Shout out. You could sponsor us if you want. You guys probably want to look Brad up because I think he builds some homes now, and you might want to work about putting some stuff in there. Who knows? I want to make a fun plug here before we actually trail along. Guys, stick with us here, okay? I'm setting the scene because Brad won't. I'm setting the scene for where we're about to go, which is all the amazing stuff he's doing now as he has continued to progress. So, quick question here. You're saying your brother-in-law said he would match what you were currently making. You're in your early 20s. It was six-figure salary or, six-figure income, let's call it. That you're saying that you directly attribute that six-figure income to your UVU degree, correct?
No, I didn't get a degree from UVU, and
I wanted to make sure everyone was clearly hearing. That degree didn't get you that earning.
Look, like I ultimately from the University of Phoenix got a degree in business finance, and I would love to say, yeah, I use a lot of because I do use some strategy probably that is not like everyone's. It's not like probably not as common for people that are buying one or two homes in their life, right? But I don't attribute any of that to UV or any of these schools that I went to because they're teaching you crap.
Go ahead. On now.
That you don't need to use. I'm like, yeah, great. This is so great. I love that we can learn this, but cool. I'll never be able to support a family by knowing that.
I'm glad I can write in cursive and I know Pythagorean theorem, right?
Yeah, dude.
They have helped me tremendously.
I do have good cursive though.
He actually, guys, he does. It's beautiful. I wouldn't doubt it. Look, you were writing her letters. See, if I had written Molly letters, we'd never happen because she'd be like, I don't know what the guy's saying. I don't know what he's saying. I think he's got me confused. But so all right. We this is Arizona. Now you said earlier 7 siblings. 7.
Yeah.
And is Brad the first one? No. You already said so. You have a sister or 2 sisters in Arizona at that point.
2 sisters in Arizona. Yep. And then I was the first. I was the next person to kind of move out here. And started in real estate, and I learned a lot from that brother-in-law, but we just fundamentally were really different. So I knew I needed to get out on my own, and I don't. That's something I don't need to elaborate on because it would be like another 2 hours.
Well, and sometimes we think things are going to be a book, and they end up being a chapter, and sometimes we think it'll be forever, and it's a season, and that's okay because God is still good through all of that. Like how many seasons have we already talked about? Like it doesn't mean that they were bad; they shaped where you are. Yeah,
so he was great, taught me a lot. That's where when I got there, that's where I first started learning to flip homes, right at the tail end of 2008. So I worked with him in 2000, the end of 08, 2009, majority of 2010. Okay. And that's in 2010 is when I started BC, and I kind of moved out and went and bought my first commercial building. And
nice.
And yeah.
So would you, because I wasn't doing real estate in 2010, so to equate this for me, Brad, what do you think that was the 2008 crash? Were we healing from that by 2010? Things were stabilizing? Okay.
No, you're still on the decline. So when you're flipping homes at that point, you're having to forecast how much lower things are going to go by the time you finish a rehab and all that stuff. So you're buying at such a deep distance.
Super low, but you're still calculating this backwards, not 100%. What will it appreciate during the time you own it.
Yeah. And I mean, we volume wise, we did a lot like 2011 and 12, like, I want to say we were in that 120 range per year, in between acquisition and disposition. I don't know. Like we were closing like 10 to 15 homes every month, for a few years. And so, did a lot of home flipping, I don't know how many, but a lot of hundreds of homes, but don't really do any of it anymore.
Well, and it's so crazy because when Brad says that starting in 2010, well, okay, so that probably, if I can remember, that would have been when we met. So shout out to Bill Allen. Bill's a good friend of mine today still. Brad, I would think you'd say the same. Great guy. I like Bill a lot. Would 2010 have been about when you were ramping up? And we joined 7-figure flipping. If anybody doesn't know who Bill Allen is, you can look it up. I actually should bring Bill on. He'd be fun. But 7-figure flipping, would that have been about that time frame?
No, we were still a few years before we got into any of the masterminding type stuff. Because we didn't buy our building and move into it until like either 11 or 12.
Yeah, you're probably right. It would have been 15, honestly.
I think it was 15.
Because that's when I started. Yeah, this is how bad I am with timelines. We started in real estate full time in 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So hundreds of houses at that point, house flipping company, mostly house flips, fix and flip. I mean, buy, close with cash, renovate, resell.
I did, I bought a handful of rentals that I still own, because I told myself, like, I just set a hard line, like, put ourselves on a fixed income. And anytime we make an extra $100,000 was like, okay, buy another house, and just keep them. And so I still have a handful of them, use them for, if I need access to funds, I, keep a line of credit against them.
Yep. So they've served you well. I mean, that's,
really well. Yeah. I was definitely like, everyone was like, you're a moron for doing this, cause it was just like, why not just make the quick 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever it was, $1,000 you're going to make on it when you flip it. But I just knew that I needed something that was going to sustain me when things get tough, because I watched my parents lose it all. Well,
and this is the discipline that I talk about all the time that Brad can forecast, and he's done a much better job than I have. My only excuse is when we bought rentals in West Virginia, no shade to West Virginia and all my West Virginia friends, but they did not appreciate near at the rate that probably Brad's or people's rentals and other more thriving economies in the country would appreciate. So we had cash flow, but we didn't have a ton of equity to show for them. So at a certain point, it was like, whatever. I sold most of mine off because they weren't appreciating.
Yeah.
But
most of these homes are like, at this point, are, between 4 and 10x of what they were then.
Yeah. So pretty good. Yeah. I think mine were like 1.2x after 5 years of holding them. So yeah, not if you can get a really nice 30-year, we're going on a tangent here, but if you can get a nice 30-year low interest fixed rate loan, then go hold them. But most of these were like 20-year ARMs, it was a moving target every time you had to go refinance, and your cash flow would change and all that. But no, that's why I wanted to mention that I am not poo-poo on rentals at all. If you can keep them in markets that are appreciating and thriving, I think it's a great idea. Really good. Yeah. So fix and flip, I guess at that point, and you had probably had experience with raising private money or kind of learned about raising private money at that point.
No, like we were paying 18% interest on hard money from 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. For a long time. Because the market didn't start to recover out here, at least. You're talking like 2017, 16, 17. That's like when it actually started recovering.
Okay.
And we started our first like buying some land in 2014, building some spec homes in early, 15, 16, like those years were some of our first spec type projects, which again, people were like, you're nuts, because no one was building specs. Met the bank out there. The bank's like, no way. And then we did it and it worked. And reestablished a new level of comps and things like that. But
say that all again one more time. Met the bank out there. They said, no way.
They just said, you're never going to get these values. And we were like, well, we're going to create these values, right? Because we're going to create a home that's a little bit nicer. You got paved streets. We're going to bring in sewer. We're going to do this. And we think people will, if you build it, they will come concept. And it did work. It's not like it was anything like, whoa, this was crazy, but it worked. And I honestly think it's kind of what lit off that little area of our submarket for a lot of other builders to go try and replicate that.
So that was Brad, he just quietly said he built his own comps, didn't listen to the bank, did it anyway, proved the bank wrong. I'll say it all for you. He's too humble. Built comps for the area. Other builders came in, rode the wave you created. Now there's a community because of your risk.
Yeah. I don't think I did anything overly genius. I had a couple partners at the time, and or a partner at the time, and yeah.
Well, you guys were willing to bet on yourselves. You were.
100%. Yeah. For the longest time, we always were betting on ourselves. You got to. If you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you better be willing to bet on yourself, or you need to go bet on someone else and work for them.
Yep. I'm not the smartest cat, but I like me in the trenches. So that's kind of, that's kind of where I've always been. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I will work harder than the guys in the room. So, so you said something, everybody hopefully listen. We found it. We etched our scratch in the dirt in 2014. You said we did our first, and maybe you did, done something prior to them, but 2014, you start experimenting with some dirt and some real estate, some vertical work, all that stuff.
Yeah. 2013 or 14 is when I bought my first lot, solo, I'm going to buy this lot, was because I had done hard money loan for some other guys, and they defaulted, and I took the lot back. But so
I was going to ask you, give us like what's the mindset at this point? So you kind of fell into this lot. It wasn't even on purpose.
Like I only did loans for people that where I underwrote the lot, and I knew the area, and I knew like I had to be the buyer. I owned the lot at first, and they came to me and said, "Hey, get us a lot where we'll make money." And I said, "Take this one. I'll give you funding for it. You're going to pay me 18%, and here's what you're going to do, and this is the number you'll make." And then they had a falling out of their partnership and decided not to move forward, and so I took the lot back. I mean, they moved forward, wasted a lot of money, and then I took it back, which was unfortunate for them, but. So I held it for a decade or so, and then I traded out of it.
Oh man! So you didn't rinse it quick. You're saying?
No. If there's one thing I would anybody that is able to get into land is like just find what you can buy, and as long as you can cover the taxes on it, never sell it until it's time to sell it. What are you doing?
Shots fired. Well, what if it's your only active income? Can I sell it?
So those are two different things.
I know. I was just Brad. He's like, don't sell it. Like I gotta eat.
Yeah. No, I mean like, you know what I mean.
I do. But I'm making a joke for the watchers. They get it. But the listeners, I mean, when I slump in my chair here, with what he just said, because. Elaborate on what you're saying, Brad. When you mean if someone can afford to take money that they don't have to allot to their daily living or to their primary expenses, if they can afford to park it in dirt, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, because there's so many ways to reposition your financial life once you control some dirt, right? So in 2024, I knew I needed some cash flow because I was in the middle of a buyout of an old partner, and I was like, okay, I need cash flow to be able to live, right? Because the buyout was very aggressive. The pay schedule was extremely aggressive. So I at that point, I owned a lot of land that I had acquired outside of that partnership, and I was like, I'm gonna put all these on seller carrybacks. So I marketed it. I picked up several $1 million worth of seller carryback lots so that I could get myself a monthly paycheck. And then in a couple of years, those will all balloon and they'll all pay off, and then I'll go do it again, but like.
So say this again, because Brad just dove right into one of the topics I was going to deep dive on, which is in our neck of the woods, we would call this a land contract. Some people may know of this as a rent to own. What are you saying you did? And you don't have to go like mega deep, but in that instance, you said, here's how I want to sell these.
Yeah.
Non-conventionally, what'd you do?
I knew I needed like cash. So, seller carries, you can typically get a little bit larger down payment so they don't have to deal with a bank, because most people can't qualify for land loans. They're either over leveraged, overextended, too much credit card debt, whatever, but they have 50 grand in the bank, or they have 100 grand in the bank, which is a super weird phenomenon. I cannot understand how those two can coexist, but I get it. Like a lot of people live there, and so I would just take a certain percentage down. If they were buying a lot for $250,000 or something like that, and these are acre lots or acre and a quarter lots, and if they're paying whatever it is, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, they're going to give $100 grand down usually, and then they're going to make payments on a 6% interest or so rate that's interest only.
Gosh, you're nicer than me. Jeez,
I didn't care about the interest.
Yeah,
because I'm getting like a very high, like a very full retail value on the land, and I'm not paying for the improvements, right?
Yeah. Well, and when Brad says, for all the listeners, seller carry is synonymous with owner financing. We say the words owner financing, seller carry. These West Coasters, they're more sexy than us East Coasters. We just call it owner financing. Even dumbed down as rent to own or land contract. But you're saying you sold these pieces of land that you owned on installment sales, where you became the bank. They gave you a portion of money down, guaranteed credit, I'm assuming, or some kind of a low credit check.
I don't check their credit.
If you got the money for the down payment, we have a deal.
It's commercial financing. They is the way that the paperwork is drawn up as, and so I'm not checking credit. But if someone's got $100,000 and it's an interest only loan, and so it's
that's all right. That's better.
They're just paying me monthly payments. They're relatively modest, so they can manage them, and they've got 2 years to figure them out. And I recognize that some of those people are going to ask to extend, and some people are going to be like, "Oh crap," and some people are going to pay it off. I have one that gets paid off in about 5 weeks. And
you'll make a nut then that you sold it at full retail. You're saying interest only. No, I'm better with that. 6% interest only. 2-year balloon. I'm hearing here's some fun. Can we please have some fun, Brad? Because no one's going to find your stuff. Tickle our ears a little bit. What do you think you bought this land for? How long did you hold it, and then what'd you sell it for?
So this piece, I bought this piece 2024, I think, which was scary because I'm in the middle of this buyout, right? So I bought this in 2024, and it was about I don't like talking numbers, but it was about $4 million for the dirt.
Well, and I'm not trying to expose the closet of what you're making. I'm trying to expose the closet of this is what can be done. This is the power of working through what he's telling you. Because everybody be like, oh, that sounds really cool, but like, what's behind it? There's some success behind it.
Yeah, so I knew that there's certain regulation here that I can only do certain lot splitting before I become a subdivision, and I'm governed by the Department of Real Estate. So like I did what I legally was allowed to do, and I sold out of those parcels to recoup my basis. So my basis in like 18 acres, there's certain people that I hope never hear this, but my basis in like the 18 acres that I retained of the 37.
Just put it on the screen, you just say it.
It was about 125 grand, of the 4 million. And so,
not bad. You can live on that. You can start to live on that sale.
I hadn't made any money yet, but so then basically I have 3 6.25 acre parcels left of that I'm about 125 into. And yeah, like the sales are good, on those. So, it's got good upside in it. I guess I've just it's just such a patient game. You know this, like you're in land, like if you're willing to be patient in land and pay attention to what the numbers are telling you for your market, then yeah, like it's a stupid return. I would never do that. I could never accomplish that in single family housing. You know what I mean? Unless I
sure do know what you mean. People ask me all the time, do you want to get back into house flips? Cuss word, no.
Yeah. No. If you for the guys that have an operation that's actually producing, because there's not that many that are really producing.
I was just getting ready to say, there's 2% in this nation, 2 to 5% that do it well.
Yeah.
There's a bunch that don't and lie. Yeah. They lie about it.
Yeah, like that little piece of land, and I'll go into the numbers just to humor, so people understand land. Like it's not like, I don't think I'm God's gift to real estate by any means, but like that piece of land that was left, I put almost all of it on owner financing. And then I retained one of those 6.25 acre chunks just to kind of sell out later. But I mean, it generated almost $20,000 a month in cash flow once I got it all positioned. That's been clockwork now for nearly a year and a half since that was done. Almost 2 years actually. It's almost 2 full years. And I'm like, which is kind of crazy, right? You think about it. So like, not only did I have a strike price on my sale, which when those balloon, that's all of this is interest. All these payments are only interest.
Yeah, so you're getting that principal amount then.
It's a quarter million a year, basically, in interest that comes out of this dang thing, and that's just one location. And then, so it's good.
Dude, that's super smart. Like, I want to make sure a listener hears from the buyer's perspective, what Brad is asking is super fair, because land is a secondary purchase for most of these people, right? So they already live somewhere. They already have a roof over their head. Yeah. So what he's saying is, all right, if I know that I can meet their needs by giving them financing that is appetizing for where they're at financially, I can get the asking price that I want for the land, which is the full retail cost of it, if I can lower the burden or lower the barrier to entry for them to get it. Mm-hmm. So he's charging them 6% interest only, like is super fair. Because he and I pay private money lenders, like he had said, at 18% for some hard money. 6% interest only. 6% today, I'd have to go check, but it's under what prime is right now. Yes. So you're charging them very fair for them to be able to hold it. And he's also, the powerful part is he gave a 2-year balloon. So you're giving, and for anyone listening, a 2-year balloon sounds sexier than we need it to sound. They have 2 years to either pay him off or refinance the loan, but basically pay him off, whether that's just coming up with the cash or they refinance the loan with a conventional note, someone else, whomever. So Brad only has to be partners. He only has to hold hands with these buyers for 2 years.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is some probably will ask for an extension. Brad probably reasonably would extend, and I'm going to guess with maybe more down payment or whatever, but it's continual hand holding there, and then some will pay the loan off. And I'm going to assume, Brad, some of these will probably build a house in this time frame on the land. Can they?
Yeah, there's a total of 15 lots that will come out of this, like 15 acre and a quarter type lots that will come out of it. So there is one guy there that's at like a 10% rate, but he didn't put it on. There's no down payment. I didn't require him anything down. So I've been carrying him for 2 years. And man, his payment alone is like $8,000. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Makes it like clockwork because he needs this land to continue his business because he builds spec homes.
Yep.
So he needed to be able to reserve the lots, and
yep.
so yeah, I really think it's a fair approach.
I do too. I mean, I think that's amazing. That's so for my side of, the part that Brad is blessed with there, that is the difficult part of doing owner financing on land for most others, is you've got to, he's bought the land at a low enough basis he can afford the debt service to either A, carry that land for a little while, or B, like he said, sell off enough chunks to pay off his principal, pay off his basis in the land. Then he can afford to carry the rest because he doesn't have any debt service on it himself. A bank loan or, your own cash basis in it. That's the hard part to me in land, is if you buy something that you've got to mortgage, to hold it, to ride this time train, affording to carry the debt service on it during the time train is the difficult part that requires discipline. I mean, that's the part I think just requires the discipline that a lot aren't willing to give.
And I agree with that. And I think a lot of, if people that wanted to get started in land, like the first thing I wish I would have done more of is that one lot that I told you I took back from that I had offered financing on. My basis was $50,000 into that. I want to say it was 2 acres. I was about $50,000 into it. So I held it for 10 or 11 years, but it wasn't definitely in like a submarket location, but in 10 years it was no longer a submarket. Like it was booming, you know what I mean? And so what I was $50,000 into, I traded out of at 300 and change, and I just 1031 from there into another parcel, and that parcel, honestly, like now that parcel is where we're currently developing a BTR community. And so it's kind of crazy how that all like plays around. Like if you just can sit, again, it goes back to delayed gratification, right? Like the easy thing would have been to sell it for 70, make 20,000 and be excited, but instead I just forgot that I had it. That's what I try to do. I try to forget, like I always am just like, nope, I have nothing. Just forget that you have it.
So I'm going to throw myself under the bus, but for this, Brad's sister, thankfully, I'm so incredibly thankful for him connecting me with his sister. She is my CPA now, and she is amazing. Cool. I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot of CPAs. I felt like a black sheep, and I just always felt like I always felt like clearly I'm not like capable of business. And what I found out was, no, I'm actually just pushing the envelope for a lot of lazy other people. And I've had some good CPAs, so it's not. As I've grown my business, you quickly find the ceiling for who you grow with, right? Yeah. And it was just unfortunate. I seemed to find it quicker than I wanted to. Yeah. Point being, his sister, I always tell her when I have these crazy ideas, I'm like, hey, it's your brother. Your brother's the one who told me to do it. You can blame him, okay? He's the one that said 1031 14 times, and I don't know what property we're on, but we're on something. And so the other day, I forget what it was, and point of, he said, I forget I have it. She was like, by the way, what is such and such LLC? And I was like, oh yeah, that's a multifamily thing that I was a GP in many moons ago, and I don't really know. And I keep getting a K1 for it. And she's like, yep, that wasn't on the list.
Yes. I will tell you though, we're finally at the point now where everything is extremely accounted for. But sometimes you got to mentally check out of those things that you're like, I don't know if it's
literally. I have to ask my assistant Hannah. I asked her like 3 weeks ago. I was like, what land contracts do we still have? What are we still servicing? Because I just don't even know anymore I believe that. We found shut up. We found a bank. Go ahead. He believes it because he knows me.
Only because I love you. I believe it because I love you.
I'm not as organized as Brad, everybody. I told you, I look up to him. He doesn't look up to me.
Oh, that's
all
a
right.
lie.
So, Brad, sidebar for everybody else too. Cool little factor here, and I want to keep going because we got into dirt, everybody, and now you can see there's actually some brain cells that he does have to give to the space that he didn't think he had. Brad, maybe you already knew this. I found a bank who will actually buy those notes. Now, it might not be on the land, but I found a bank that will buy my owner finance house notes. Here's the cool part. So if you wrote the note today, and this is getting really deep for listeners, but if we sold something on owner financing for, let's say, $150,000, and we got whatever, $15,000 down, $30,000, whatever it is, they would pay me 5% less than the face value of that contract the day I wrote it. They will vet the tenant buyer, we call them. They'll vet, they'll run a credit check of who the owner the person is that we wrote the loan with too. But they will buy that note for 5% less than the face value of it day one. And I started to think, for someone who like doesn't want to do owner financing if you just need the cash, but you also want to sell the property at full retail value, think of this tie that you offered on owner financing or seller carry. You build the loan, you package it all up. It's done. They close, call that bank. They buy the loan from you. You make your money day one, 5% less than the face value of the loan.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's crazy. And of course, Brad makes the best argument that servicing the loan is a way to make more money on the deal. That's why the bank wants it. They want the interest that you wrote. Yeah. They want that high amount of interest. They don't want the house. They don't want the land or the dirt. They want the note.
Yeah.
But I sold 4 or 5 of our land contract properties to this bank now in Michigan over just finding this out. And I sold them 5 years into the loan. Well, I've made the lion's share of the interest in those years. So of course they're offering me less because they back down into that, but I'm still making money. The tenant buyer, I call them the tenant buyer. They still owe me, much more than what my debt service was. So pretty cool. Pretty cool just to think packaging a non-conventional way of selling something, packaging it a certain way. And then there's still, I would say, a conventional buyer out there who wants what you built. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So we're going, we dove into some land stuff. Let me just do this because this is where I knew we'd have some fun and I'm not allowed to keep him forever. We talk about dirt and we've talked about, I know Brad won't say all this, so I'm throwing it out there. I know either you do have or have had plumbing stuff, plumbing company. You have an in-house like architectural design group that does a lot of your drawings. You submit a lot of that in-house. You go vertical. You do a lot of grading work.
So we don't go vertical at all anymore.
You have then?
In the past we had, my brother was the one running a lot of that, and he's, now that things have changed, he's kind of got his own business running. He's doing great with it. Shout
out to Nick. I think it's Freestone built, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. He's doing it. And he's offering such a high value service. I love what he's building. It's really cool. It's cool to watch and see. And honestly, we needed separation for him to get out and be able to do what he wanted to really do.
Well, for sure. I worked with my mother for 5-6 years and it was always kind of her business. And I just always felt like, hey, I just want to like spread my wings, love you, love everything, but I want to do me. And I'm happy for Nick. It's been awesome to watch. I actually was going to ask him the other day if he would project manage my house build from afar.
I know he's got several out of state deals. So he's usually got 30 or so in the pipeline. He's got a good thing going.
Well, we have to get Nick on here. So we've got, and Brad won't take credit for this. I'll give him the credit. Maybe the siblings would say, shut up. It wasn't Brad, but let's just pretend it was. You got a lot of siblings in the real estate space and in self-employment and entrepreneurism, period. I mean, it seems like most of your family work for themselves.
Yeah. All except for one. So, Audrey that you mentioned, she's now a majority owner, I believe, of that firm. And my sister, Marianne, she owns a photography company, does weddings and events and things like that. And,
let's get them all out there. Shout out to the Sibs. All right. We have Audrey, Marianne.
Okay. I have another sister, but she doesn't work. She's raising a bunch of babies. And
let's go.
Just more work probably.
Yep. Hardest job out of all of us.
And then there's me, and then I've got a brother, Chris. I think you know Chris, and
I do. Yep.
So Chris runs a software company that he's developed that actually started when he was working with us, and he's grown it. And he's got a bunch of people in it for sourcing off market deals. It's really taken off. It's cool to watch. And then Nick is in housing. My brother, my youngest, I have a brother. His name is Zach. He's a pilot. And then my youngest brother Dustin has been doing fractional CFO work.
Yep. And Dustin also, shout out, he's going to say, don't tell anyone, I don't want to do it anymore. But I begged him to build my Monday boards out and help with my CRM. And I have just stripped any ounce of help from the Young family that I can. So if you can just, give me like a new Rolodex of what everyone does, I'll just call all of them next. But no, Dustin's been great for sure. Shout out to Dustin. It's Brad, he's the one that turned me on to like it. When you need to build a system, like a software system for your business, it's really difficult to find somebody to help do it. And I'm not like tech, inept, but I don't write code or, I know what my mind wants us to have, but I don't really know how we get there. He's been awesome. Dustin's been really helpful with working through things. I think he's worked on my website as well. This is just proves to the unknowingness of what all my team has people doing, but he's been awesome. So shout out to Dustin. I haven't gotten to work with Nick yet, but I think we're going to do it. Everybody go check out. It's Freestone Built, right?
Yeah, Freestone Built. Yeah, if someone wanted to get into spec home building, it would be a really, really great way to get introduced because he's got it all. He's got systems built out that he basically says, here's these systems.
He has a lot of social content as well. If you want to find Nick, you can find his Instagram. He's got a lot of high quality social content. Yeah. I'd prefer you not call Audrey because she's just busy, and I don't really want. We kind of need our tax stuff dealt with, so don't call Audrey. Just love you, Audrey, but we're not going to send anybody your way on purpose. Okay, so here was my ADD loops. We're talking through the latitude of what keeps you busy today. So land me a plane again. You've said grading work. You've said, you're kind of breathing new life into the real estate brokerage. You don't go vertical anymore, but are you still doing like the kind of the curb and gutter? And I only use these cool words because he does, but.
Yeah. So civil development, we're definitely like heavy in that right now. And we have been for a little bit now for a few years. And so anything in the grading and paving side of things, excavating, all of that is primarily what a large portion of our team has been focused on. Probably the only side of the business is really built out well, like from layered management. But yeah, we have basically 4 teams going out every day or more going out every day, working at commercial sites,
and this is if we kind of compartmentalize this for everyone listening, when you're saying grading and all, I'm thinking of fairly unimproved or land that's suitable for a higher density or land that's properly positioned for something that's much sexier than what's doing. Yeah. You guys are going in and you're bidding out, getting that developer ready to go vertical.
Yeah, so like right now we're on like a Dutch Bros or Culver's, or we've got a 133 unit complex or stuff like that. We're in stuff like that, getting them all prepped to go. There's phases in construction. I don't bore your audience with phases.
No, this is good.
That after your planning and permitting phase, we're like the first guys to come in, right? So you come in, everything's prepped. You hit what would be called like a blue top phase, like you're at grade at every different elevation with articulated heights for, pads are here and roads are here and drainage is here type of thing. And you can't even. I just realized you can't.
No, I can. Well, so it's funny because Riverside kind of cuts us both smaller than what it really is. But I'm learning this actively, Brad. I'm building a big pole barn and like they're the grade, like, he's like, no, we're going to be like 12 inches above what the dirt is so that this thing drains well. And I'm like, whoa, okay. I didn't, and we're going to get there by putting stone. Like, oh, great. That's good.
All that stuff, and so, and I would say it's pretty, like complex at this point. You're not looking at a Gannon tractor running over and spinning off a little lot to pull some grub down. It's like, there's water trucks and there's motor graders and there's scrapers, and it's where it's full scale, full size, machines. These are 40, 50, 60 plus 1,000 pound machines. And you've got to have semis to pull them and all that crap, So So it's fun. Yeah. It's, we go in there and then your utility guys come in. We come in after utilities and reestablish grades and then go in to hit concrete and paving.
What does your team size look like? If you had to articulate, what's your team size today?
About 25. Yeah. We had a guy accept an offer last night.
Okay.
We've got about 4 positions open right now that we're trying to fill. It's just hard to fill, to get a good team fit.
Yeah.
We're not a numbers group, so I would like to say we'd cap out at about 50 is what was probably the right size of where we would want to be,
Okay. And obviously I'm making the assumption very confidently you have people in key roles that you really trust that are running day to day that get the ethos of who is BC.
It is what we did not do well for so long. And now for the last 3 or 4 years, I'm like, whoa, the difference it can make to have those pivotal roles, like spend the extra money, pay the person, like I did actually always have a goal. I was like, I want everyone here to make X amount of dollars. Like that would be so cool to be like, that's really cool. They can support a family here, and
dude, 100%. It's one of my huge goals as well. Like knowing that we carry the weight of people's lives being financially fulfilled through our dreams and our stuff and our chaos. That's a lot, but I know what you mean. It's equally gratifying.
But you also you're always looking at oh crap, we can't afford this. How are we going to make this work? But yeah, it works really well. Like I started hiring people that was like, oh, these are a lot more expensive people, but they're also so competent. Like their competency level was so far beyond mine in those niche elements of the business that I'm like, this is beautiful. Like that's the business I'm the most removed from.
Okay.
And so it's been a really
Isn't that amazing?
Super grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. So today, no vertical, lots of grading work, breathing new life into the brokerage. Obviously, no house flips. There's the part I really want to get to with Brad that has been the most beneficial to me in our friendship is watching the dream building and watching him fulfilling his own personal goals, his own family goals. If we look at what is success, Brad, now as a company, where do you feel like, or companies, where do you feel like you're going to be happiest with? This is how we honor God with our business. What does success look like for you in the next, year, 5, whatever you think you might be chasing?
All right. So I have a quick, simple answer to that one. We started doing quarterly profit sharing with our key people.
Okay.
And it started that. So it's only been 5, we're going to our 5th quarter of doing that. Right. So, and I've always wanted to do it. It just never seemed to work out right because everyone's always scared to give up their money. But I was like, man, these are the people right here in the trench with me that are shooting zombies all day with me. Like I want them to feel just as good as it feels for me. And I'll never forget walking by a room to one of the first, and I know this person's going to listen to this podcast, so I'm not going to name names, but
Freda Felcher from Cranston.
Yes. But I can recall a call going on, and I what I believe I heard, right, was tears and that it was life-changing, because they had just received a really cool check that they were like, holy crap, this is different for us. And so to me, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like they get to do things in their life and support their children and support their dreams in a way that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. And so it's just fun to watch. Over the years, I got accused of not being appreciative of the journey by some previous partners, I'll say. And now I've learned, as I've been able to analyze that a little closer, it had nothing to do with that. It was the lack of control I had on my journey while in a partnership. Not that it was a bad partnership. It was not what I wanted. And it was not what I felt like I was kind of the gifts I've been given, a parable of talent, right? Like the gifts that I feel like I was given, I was not able to use them. I felt like I was burying my talents. And so yeah, it was, not that the partner was a bad person or anything was bad. It was just more and I think he would probably say the same thing. He probably saw so much growth in himself, once the separation finally happened, because he probably felt stifled too.
Yeah. I mean, Dude, it goes back to like, I've always said, anybody that comes to me and wants to partner, I have always said it, like, I think it's the hardest thing to do in business, to have a partner. And I watch the people that do it successfully, and what I see behind the success, and you're speaking to it, because usually what I see is sacrifice. I see in a partnership, it's sacrifice.
Yeah.
And you and I, you having been a partner, I've been a partner in a few ventures, and they never lasted. So maybe that's the reason. But the sacrifice, we don't get to measure as an outsider. We don't get to measure it until you see it fall apart. And then you say, hey, what did it cost you? Right. Because the sacrifice was a lot. And so I intimately know what you're talking about. I know his old business partner, met them both together. Great guy. I mean, it's been beautiful to watch this process, because nothing is pretty about having to, separate things, and nothing is pretty about having to have hard conversations. And obviously nothing is pretty about financial hardship through it and all these things. Nothing is pretty. What is pretty, what is beautiful, is you seeing with clarity after it.
Yeah.
And so, we all know hindsight's 2020. I don't think you would have regretted a lot of the chapters that came through that partnership that have led you to where you're at now, but it's been the value of what the clarity is for you.
Yeah, not at all. Like, if the only thing I would change, we're partners for almost 13 years, so the only thing I would have changed is I would have probably held my ground a little bit more on things that I had a strong opinion on. And he might even think that I did that, but I'm learning now that I definitely, from my position, did not do that well. And so it just probably left him thinking, like, what do you even really want here? You know? And I didn't know.
And I've 100% been guilty of that one. What do you want? We all want to please you, but what do you want?
Yeah.
And it doesn't serve them. And I'm more guilty than Brad way of this. It doesn't serve your team well. It's hard to serve them well if there isn't clarity. On what it is. But dude, I think people don't understand as well that sometimes as the owner, it's a very lonely place, and the partner, it's a very lonely place, because you're expected to know what you want right then and right there, period, and have all the answers. And that's not how it works. Yeah.
And I don't think I realized how important it was to be able to articulate vision, when you start having and a lot of this, now I'm understanding the importance of it, because you have multi-layered management, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is a top-down thing, and you better be able to talk about it. And it needs to be clear enough, right? If you can't talk about what your vision is, and you can't talk about the direction of where you're going to take things and how you're going to get there and how it's going to benefit all of them along the way, then you're not going to grow. It's really unlikely.
Carl Libb, a very good friend of mine, I've had him on the podcast, but we call them Carlisms, but his main clarity one is to be clear is to be kind. And that clarity creates community. And ambiguity creates anxiety.
Yes,
And
I have that poster on my wall.
Okay. And it's I always tell people, even in hard conversations, when I tell people that there's a conversation I don't want to have, because as leaders, you don't want to have, I don't want to have them. Yeah. I tell them, I love you too much not to be clear to you. I love you too much not to be kind to you. I want to be kind to you, which requires me to be clear to you. Yeah. In love, not in bitterness or whatever. And to be clear, I have to say X. Yeah. I have to bring X to light, whatever it is. I derailed us a bit here, Brad. So you said there's a short version of what you'd like to accomplish. Can you articulate what is that in your business? Because I want to go to family and land next. But in the business, what would Brad think God would be happy with, and what are you chasing?
I am chasing I've had the same target for as long as I can remember, since probably right when I got married, is by 55, I want to be able to say I have the flexibility to go serve additional mission trips, but also fly back and make sure I can check on my kids, be there for grandkids. I don't want those limitations being the reason why Catherine's I don't want her to be well, I don't want to miss these key moments of our grandchildren's lives because we chose to do this. So I recognize that if I'm going to get her on board, and if this is God's will and what he wants me to be doing, he's going to put a path in front of me that's going to lead me there. I just got to be willing to take all the steps. Right. So So yeah, 55 is what I want to be positioned to where I could commit to be like, it doesn't really matter what I'm doing. If I want to go spend 2 years in Russia preaching the good word, like I can do it.
That's amazing. Yeah. And most people won't ever set themselves up well enough financially. And I don't mean this in a slight to anyone, but it takes incredible discipline, right? Delayed gratitude, grit, all the words to set yourself up financially that you can afford, because those are synonymous, that you can afford to give time to God's work.
Yeah. Everybody always talks about they want now balance is pushed. And I preach this a lot.
It doesn't exist.
It does not exist. Balance does not exist. I'm like, when these youth groups come over, we talk about that a lot because like, hey, look, balance would mean that if you broke your life into 4 quadrants, your health, your wealth, your relationships, and maybe your spirituality, right? Like you took those 4 key elements of your life and you said, I'm going to balance these. Well, that means you're giving them 25% effort each. And anything in life you give 25% effort to probably sucks.
Yep.
So it's like there's going to be periods of your life where you're given 80% over here and everything else is dying, right? Like Catherine and I, every year we set our goals on index cards. And it's been this, so I have index cards going all the way back to 2009 that say physical, spiritual, and like a temporal goal. Like we have 3 categories. What are we both shooting for that year? And they're all in a drawer in an index box, on index cards. And so it's really cool to see now that it's been almost 2 decades of doing this, that I can look back and say, dang, this year we were hyper focused on building a family. Oh, this year I was hyper focused on building a business because I clearly didn't hit any physical goal and I got fat, right? Like
I've never seen Brat fat, but okay.
No, I have pictures. I've got proof of it. I'm like, yeah, there's a period of like 3-4 years where I'm like, dude, I look sloppy, right?
I look back at myself at those time frames too, and it's tough.
Yeah. And I was like, but you're like, your 80% is going here and not toward your fitness. So you can kind of watch how your life ebbs and flows as you do that. So I think it's, I don't know, but we're big, like we love discipline and we love goals. And so this is the first year we've got our kids on the index card program with us. And it's fun. Like one of them is my 5-year-old's like, I want to be able to do 10 push-ups without stopping, I'm like,
hey.
So when I read in Junie B. Jones at night, we're doing 5 push-ups before we hit the book.
Let's go.
And it's fun.
I love some Junie B. Jones.
Dude, who doesn't giggle at Junie B? Okay.
Literally.
Good stuff.
I wish I had thought of Junie B.
And Dragon Masters. They love Dragon Masters.
Okay. See, I got to get Romy on Junie B. We always pray every night, and we pray for people, and she picks, and we talk about an animal story every night. Some farm animal in the barn, we tell one animal story. We pray for people. She always wants to pray for Charlie Kirk every night, every single night. Yep. Yeah. And so we pray for, his family and his girls and all that. That's just, and then she'll rub my arm, and it's just funny. That's what we do. But Junie B. Jones, that can be our new progression. I did that with the older 2. So it's familiar in our house. So Brad, something else I've watched him do that we may not have time to talk through. I want to hear when you think of the words legacy through land, what comes to mind and the legacy you're trying to create. But maybe inside of that conversation, could you talk about what it's been like for you? And I may get this number wrong, but is this your 2nd or your 3rd home that has been home, right? And you've stayed there a while and then you built another one. Is this your 2nd or this 3rd?
So like we moved in 2008, we bought a home. It was just your normal, neighborhood house, which I had never heard of an HOA prior to going there. And because I came from the sticks. And so, I moved there, and then we moved onto a property that had some acreage that got us out of that stuff. A lot older farmhouse, built in the 70s,
okay.
Older for our area. And we stayed there for 11 years. It was a duplex, so we just house hacked for a long time, which nice. I have a love-hate relationship with that for sure, but we needed it to get ahead. And then we bought the home that I'm in now. We bought it probably a decade ago and sat on it, and then waited till the time was right where we knew we could build a home and not have no heartache to go build what I just told Catherine, build what you want. You've hung in with me in this place, and we've got 7 people in a really, really small space and minimal bathroom. for a long time. It was time to change. So this is home for us now. So we built once.
Yep. 4 kids, right?
5.
5.
Yep.
I can't even keep up.
Did.
I know Elliot, right?
Elliot is my oldest boy.
Yeah. Wildo, last time I was there. That's your oldest.
Crazy. Yeah, he's my oldest boy.
Do you have a daughter named Lainey as well?
Yes, Lainey is my 3rd daughter. She's turning 11 here in about a week.
My Lainey is 12. So, yeah. See, crazy. It's funny, Brad. We'll get back on track, I promise. But Brad's built some amazing homes. I've always walked through the projects he's built, and then I've had the chance to be at his house he has now, and it's what people scroll on Instagram and look through and dream of. And I'm so happy to see how much peace and rest you guys have been able to find there. It's amazing to watch and see. And then I've had the chance to feel that being in his home. It's just awesome. Giving my wife the chance to dream build. My daughters are now like, well, we have to have a shower like that too. And I'm like, I don't know. Hold up. Pump the brakes. He set the bar pretty high. But what's so beautiful about that is, I know you are a family man. I know you are a at-home man. I know that you enjoy being out back and doing the gardening. And, I don't know. Do you guys have a pickleball court at your own house now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Brad got into building pickleball courts for people, like not average pickleball courts. If Tom Connect happens to listen to this, my buddy, I always joke, this is your guy because he's pickleballing all the time. Wow. Building like really cool pickleball courts. But I don't want to take the words from your mouth, but what have you built for your family there? If you could articulate the words of what you just said, you bought a lot, and I didn't know all this. You waited a decade, told her to build what she wants. And what has that been for you guys in the past few years? And are you done with building there?
I mean, the song Buy Dirt. I feel like I'm living that song all the time. Mm-hmm. We had 4 kids sleeping in the same room for so long that it was like, and we're all sharing a bathroom for the most part. In the last place, it was time to, and to be honest, like we've actually made okay money for a long time. It was just more of I've seen what it's like when everyone's losing everything. I just didn't want to jeopardize that. And so wanted to make sure we were positioned in a way that made sense, and which meant a lot of delayed gratification. We skipped a lot of family trips, and I got a lot of crap for about 10 years for not coming to different family events because we didn't want to spend the money, but, and I didn't do that because I didn't want to be around family. I did that because I wanted to protect my family.
For sure. Well, and I mean, man, this is an entire topic of itself, but sometimes I think we all get too stuck in the big family picture, but we always go and it's a family tradition, and it's like, but that's the big family.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think our generation really hasn't had the permission to do, and this is just my wording, but I don't feel like our generation and generations behind us have the permission to recognize that our family is a family.
Yeah.
We are a unit. And it's okay what 100% when my kids have kids, they will never hear me say, oh my gosh, but we always do Christmas together, even though it's 6 hours from you, and your kids might want to stay in their bed the night of Christmas.
Totally.
That I'll never, ever, because that has been for a long time the status quo.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's not fair. I think it's a lot of pressure that I'm just not going to put on my kids, and I don't mean that in any hateful way to any of my family, but we have traditions that I definitely know what you mean, Brad, that I feel like don't serve our family well.
Yeah, I hear that.
He said it, not me. Everybody, if you're listening, he said it, not me. He's out in Arizona. Nobody can egg your house as easy. So I want to shift gears here. Obviously to say what Brad won't, they've built an incredibly beautiful home that most people dream of. You are in a good financial position. You have land, you have acreage. Your kids can get dirty. I know you have a tractor out there. We have a pickleball court. We have stuff. Point of it is he's not materialistic. What you've always been that I've always admired is a lifestyle guy. And if it takes a certain amount of money or it takes a certain amount of expense to get to said certain lifestyle, that lifestyle is to honor God and to be in community with your family, right? Like to have experiences with your family. So it's been awesome to see. And, when I talk to him, the things he's doing and what they're doing and what they find themselves busy with on their land, that is this ever popular word that is overused, but underfelt is home. Home. Like, what is home for you? And, hearing that journey, Do you feel like, I'll ask you this and we can move on. Do you feel like that is home now? Have you worked towards that being home?
Oh yeah, for sure. This is definitely home now. I mean, we go out in the back and I'm like, hey, Elliot, let's go grab some of these like light up golf balls. We're going to go hit golf balls across the field. Like it's dark and it's just like something stupid to do. Like we just do. Yeah. I don't know. It's home. Like they rip their dirt bikes out, or, you know what I mean? Or like, let's set some pallets up and we're going to go have an Orby gun war. I don't know. Like that's life for us, and I want them to get dirty. I want them to like push their bodies and test some limits, to the best that they can. We don't live out in an area where you can really get a hold of that, but like for what we can do, it's fun.
Yep. I'm looking forward to this as well. We've bought some acreage and I'm excited to start calling that home over the next couple of years. So pushing for that myself, always chasing, I'm not chasing Brad, but chasing vision. If he can help cast it, it's always been fun to watch and chase behind. But what do you think of? We talked about this before we started recording, but what I'm passionate about with this podcast is I want to, and Brad, I know you will agree with the sentiment that land is a rich man's game anymore. Period. It's a rich man's game. What I'm determined to be with this podcast is a way to empower people to get on the journey, a way to help them understand and learn ways and strategies and ideas to get themselves there, and to help dream build that it can happen. Like that is the point of why I would do this. So for a guy like yourself that's done a little bit of a lot, that's chased God's blessing in all these avenues and all these hard things you've gone through and done to get to the seasons you're in, what is legacy for land for you? What do you think of when you think of a legacy through land? Is this something you're trying to build for your family, or is it a story that comes to mind that is legacy to Brad?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to like my why, which is, I've got about 15 years to not slow down so that I can get to what my why has been that will have been decades of my life. Right. And so, and I also, I'm not the type that thinks that we should give our kids all these things. Like, I don't even give my kids a cell phone until they go to high school. Yeah. So and because we're just not into that. And that's just our thing. Everyone else is
I'm
different.
with you. Amen. I'm with you.
Like, yeah, you're not getting social media until you're 15. We'll like baby step you into that when your brain is ready for it. We're not gonna, all that stuff. But anyway, so for me, legacy through land, geez, I'm looking for those generational wealth plays, right? I don't want to go through the recession again the way that I went through it. I spent a long time doing cash for keys, and I don't know if you ever recall that phrase or not, but when banks were like, here's $500 for the keys to the home, you need to get out. Like, I did so many hundreds of families when I was working for those banks. When I first started working for my brother-in-law, I'm like, this is miserable. Like,
it's the darkest chapter of some of those people's entire life.
Dude, you're sitting at a kitchen table and they're crying, and now you're crying because you feel what they feel, and you're like, what am I asking them to do? And in that age of my life, I didn't even fully understand it because I had barely become a homeowner, So I don't think I really grasped it, Now I'm looking back, I'm like, as I have kids, and I'm like, oh man, if I had to uproot all of them and go move into grandma's trailer, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was my option. I'd be like, that would be such a paradigm shift that I have to be prepared to go through that with them, So I don't know exactly if I'm understanding your question correctly, but I'm like, I have a handful of things that I'm trying to position that I know that like will outrun me.
Yeah, you're right. It's just, what does that ideology, what comes to mind? Like for me, when I think of legacy through land, I think of like times being a young boy on my grandpa's property and him teaching me things and learning how equipment worked and whatever. And I didn't obviously know at that point as a young boy that this land was something that people own, and there's boundaries, and it takes effort to get to ownership, and it's peaceful here. And how much does this peace cost, and what how do we measure this? But maybe a better way to ask it is, when you think of dirt and where you're at with it professionally and personally and spiritually and all these things, what do you hope people get from it, or what do you hope people see from your own journey that could be possible with land?
That's probably a lot deeper question than I.
Yeah, and it's a tough one to answer. I mean, it's hard for me to articulate, but do you have thoughts of what do you see when you see a legacy that is usually made from the start of dirt? I mean, that's just where it all starts for me, for most of the people that have been pivotal in my life.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, like so much of what I see around dirt anymore, I relate to revenue in some way at some point, but I think I took for granted what it meant to have space, right? Like growing up with ponds in the back and being able to cast a line and fish when I wanted to fish, or jump on a horse, or take the go-kart to a buddy's house down the street. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
That to me was living. Like now that I look back and I live in a concrete jungle. Like the fact that I'm on acreage in the location I'm in is not normal. And so like, yeah, my kids can't do that. Like they can stay here and they can bomb around a little bit, but there's 6 lanes of really busy roadway several thousand feet to the north. You know what I mean? Yep. And I'm like, that's a no-fly zone because it's crazy over there. And that didn't exist where I was, I wasn't. So to me, I'm like, learning how to fall a tree, or, I can remember learning all of those little skills, that later in life you take for granted that you know how to do certain things. And you would have never, and the reason why you realize that is because you're now surrounded by people that don't know how to do these things. And it's not because they're dumb or because they don't want to, it's because they were never exposed to life on property.
Yep.
And I do think that there's something about being able to slow down. Like once you get land going, you get to slow down. And I feel like land slows the pace.
Yeah. I mean, the easiest question to ask you would be, do you think that it's worth people developing the discipline to position themselves to buy some dirt in their lifetime?
I mean, I do. Like, okay, so I'll give you a prime example. I fought my wife when she wanted to put these pickleball courts in. So she wanted to put tandem courts in, and I was like, "What the heck? That's double the cost." Like I fought it because I'm like, everything about me is, what's this going to cost me? Does it set me back on my financial journey? But she did it for community, right? She has like 8 women here every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:00 in the morning playing pickleball. And she has now for 2 years. And I'm like, the relationships that are getting built, like her spiritual progress from being surrounded by a great group of women. I'm like, what interesting thing. We couldn't do that without land.
Yep.
I can't put that in. There's almost none of my neighbors can do that, which I don't say that in a way that's like, oh, look at me. It's more like we just can because there's the space to do it, and so it's allowed us to have large groups from our congregation over and play or hang out or do kickball in the back field or, whatever. Like there's just bonding that can happen because you can bring more people together when you got the space for it. So,
yep. That's the beautiful part of that question for everybody, Brad, is there's a story that's completely different than the person behind them of what land is to them. And you just said it. I mean, a different way is it is community. Like you can't afford yourselves the opportunity to do those things, have those activities, enrich other people's lives, be a blessing out of the abundance if you don't have a way to do it. And again, we're not acting like you can't go be a blessing in someone's life if you don't own some land. Sure. Don't misunderstand. But what I think I will say, because you are going to be too modest to say it, is that the delayed gratification that you have disciplined yourself to have has afforded you the opportunity to live in abundance and overflow, to be able to give to others because of that. And land is, is a byproduct of that.
Agreed.
It's beautiful. I know we could talk forever about other stuff, and I'd like to spend some time in the future talking more about your spiritual journey and why that, I know, but I think the deeper dive into why is it your life's mission to give back to missions and go back into missions. Why is that? And how have you been able to keep that yearning all these years, as our own lives and goals and careers and circumstances change? how have you kept that in the forefront? Because you've chased that goal since you were young, probably before you knew, hey, I've got to have an income. I've got to have an income earning and, a wealth building phase of my life to afford me back the time where I can give in abundance my time.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I can answer that. I don't know if you're looking for that now.
Yeah. Yeah. If it doesn't take you an hour, cause I would love to have the hour, but I bet you don't have it.
I'm good for time, but I'm now seeing there's a clock up here and I'm realizing how long this has been going. So I feel terrible.
He didn't think he could do it, people.
That goal's been almost 20 years into that, with that being my why. And, to me, it's really easy. Some of the most rewarding times of my life were when you're sitting knee to knee with someone that's never heard the good message of the fact that dude, we all fall short, right? We all sin. We all make mistakes, whatever anyone wants to reference them as. I know some people don't like the word sin, but
we like it. It's real. Sin is real.
It's a real thing. We are humans, and that was part of God's plan anyway, was we come here to experience mortality, right? And God knew, man, I want these spirits, these children of mine, I want them back with me, right? So he sent the only begotten Son, right, to come here and lay his life down, which as you start having kids, you start thinking about Abraham and Isaac, and you start thinking about the father and son.
Only son.
His only son. You think about that, and you're like, dude, I would... I literally am it's not I could do that. Clear. That's why I was never Abraham, anyway, so to me, some of the most rewarding moments in my life were when I was in those settings where people felt what they needed to feel to have a change of heart, where they no longer wanted to serve the world and they wanted to commit themselves to living the principles of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Right. And that was really cool to me. And it doesn't mean that everyone has to be if you don't come here and get baptized in this church, you're I don't, that's not what we preach, right? It's just more man, giving up sin in exchange for something that's wholesome, find what that is for you, and make that a big fundamental piece of your life. And so, it's worth the chase for me.
Yep. So. Well, I can resonate with you because having been on several missions trips as well, and some of these being much shorter than yours, but when we go to other places, and I want to take my kids, and I think we're finally getting to that age with the oldest girls that they could understand, the depth of what they might see. But it really makes me realize when I go and see these third world countries, and even to argue places in the United States, we don't have to go across the country or out of the country to experience people that really need to see a real and real relationship with Jesus. But it's incredibly humbling to walk into someone's life who literally has nothing and does still have joy, and to show them a path that they just sometimes have never heard of, or that they've never thought to accept. It can't be measured what it costs and how much that's worth. So I do know what you mean. Now, to have the discipline to say I would devote 2 years of my life, that is incredible. And I think for what you're saying is you will devote the rest of the years of your life to being able to continue the mission.
I would love, I'm not saying I want to go out all day, every day for 30 years. If that opportunity was there, and it still meant that I was obviously with being able to spend time in the personal sides of my life that I want to, I would do it. Who wouldn't want to, when you find something that just brings you happiness and joy, that's it. I don't necessarily, so you said before, I don't have hobbies, and I do find work is more like a hobby for me. It makes me happy to see progress. But it's I don't know. There's just very few things that I feel make me happy right now. And maybe hunting would make me really happy.
I don't think it would. I don't think it would. It's all the hunter listeners comment below if we need to get. I keep joking we need to get his hands up in a carcass and he'll really learn about life. But I don't know if it would. I think you not having this distraction of hunting in your life is probably serving you better than it is me.
I've only shot a few things, and they're little things because they needed to go away. You know? It's not like, I'm not anti that at all. I just wasn't exposed to it.
Well, we all want to reserve the right that if we can like draw a coveted Arizona elk tag or an Arizona mule deer tag or something, we can at least have dinner together or something like that.
Sounds perfect.
We'll bring the animal back so we can do a case study with the kids in the backyard. Okay.
I like it.
Do a little bit of anatomy study, saw off some back straps, cook them on the fire there, just whatever.
They would love that.
They actually would, I'm sure. Well, dude, I appreciate you being on here. And I knew at the end of this that he would be like, wow, it's been 2 hours. And it's always this way when you start talking and having the story about the journey and the things that I love the most. My listeners, if they don't like that I like the journey, then they're going to have to quit listening to the podcast. Because for me, it's just not bringing someone on and saying, oh, well, they've made millions of dollars. They've done millions of deals. They've just never failed. They've just won. They drive 20 Ferraris and this, and that we see as this avatar that's fake. It doesn't help build anyone's belief. Yeah. To me, and Brad, I think you would agree, like when I listen to someone's failures or I listen to someone's story that is laced with betting on yourself and not afraid to make big risk or take big risk or make big moves, not afraid to work harder, not leaning on only on their college education to create their financial freedom, like all these things that are the staples of entrepreneurism. That to me is the meat of, sure, we can go talk about land deals, but how does your brain get to, I'm doing a land deal where I carried financing on these deals because I needed to have cash flow. And I got to the headspace where I knew what that meant. And I saved a lot for myself because I know it's going to be worth more when I keep it because I want to keep it because I'm disciplined. You don't get there overnight. That isn't like you can't comprehend that until you walk through. Yeah, but I sold door to door. Sold salvation door to door and also sold security door to door. 2 forms of security. That just came to me.
I just didn't want to miss anyone.
Eternal, right. Eternal security, home security.
Yep.
Not the same thing, but kind of the same sector. But that is how you get to where you get to. Those life experiences get you to where you're at now, where you just said earlier, like, well, we don't do a lot of vertical. Well, because you've realized what you want to do and what you feel the most successful and empowered at. That is the journey. Yeah. I just want people to start the journey. That's my thing. I just want people to start it. I don't want to start some mastermind or be, the things that Brad and I have been part of. Some of them are really good, right? They're really good, but too many times it's gurus that don't actually do the business, that aren't actually in the trenches, that are trying to teach you. And there's this old adage, if you can't do, teach. Yeah. And I don't like that. And so for me, being able to hear about someone's story as they have progressed to where they're at, like that's the meat of, yeah, sure, we'll talk about the successes he's had, but how do you get to those? What's the rigidity that was built along the way? So I appreciate you being on here, dude. It's been awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Would you come back on if we pay you like a bunch of money?
If you said, hey, come back on and let's talk about the different strategies behind, the different land deals, I would be all for it. So it's fun to talk.
Let's go. All right. Next podcast topic. I'm writing it down. We're doing it. There's too many hunters on here, man. We're all worried about baiting in Ohio. And then Brad's out here just building empires in Arizona. And he's like, what's hunting? I don't even know. What do you guys do? So
whatever.
Dude, thank you for being on here. For the listeners, if you've listened this far, thanks. Brad, quickly, because I know this is gonna be his least favorite part. How do people find you if they want to connect with you or if they've resonated with you or whatever? How would they get a hold of you? Are you on socials? Social
media, email. Yeah, I don't do a ton of social media, but the BC team is an Instagram handle. And website.
How do they email you?
Brad@bcteam.com, again, I don't know what value I can add to a ton of people, but I do I enjoy figuring out how to make land do something for me. So it's fun.
Let's do it. Well, sometime we'll maybe do like an open panel sometime and see if we can get some guys together that structure land deals like you do, and we'll all case study a deal. But Brad at bcteam.com. That's probably the easiest email I've ever heard in my life. So if you guys can't remember that, you probably shouldn't email him. Brad at bcteam.com or check out BC Team on Instagram. God is good. And this one's been a good one. So I appreciate your time, dude. And for the listeners, see you next week.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode. If you're finding value in this content, we'd love to hear from you. It'd mean a lot if you could share with us how this podcast is helping you on your journey and let us know of any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Be sure to connect with us on all social platforms at Legacy Acres Land Co. and subscribe to stay updated on when new episodes drop. We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Legacy Through Land podcast, and we'll see you next week.